Welcome to Get Me Down Under TV. If you're considering migrating to Australia or New Zealand, you've certainly come to the right place. Now, in terms of getting all the information that you need to find a job, to get a house, to relocate, we're the UK's only channel that will enable you to have all the information that you need to make the right decision to get that move down under. And I'm joined by John Adams of Immigration to Oz here in the studio. Lovely to have you here.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Lovely accent.
It's South African by birth, but Australian. I've decided Australian passport. Lived there for 10 years.
Wow.
So consider myself Australian, but I can't shed the accent.
Oh, never mind. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Thank you.
I was just thinking, you can see why so many people want to move to Australia. 300 days of sunshine, the sandy beaches, the weather is just amazing, the barbecues, the pools. It's amazing, isn't it?
You've said it. You've said it all.
But how easy is it, though, to actually migrate over there?
Not that easy. It used to be very easy. You had to steal a cabbage and you could get there, you know, to go to prison in a couple of hundred years ago. And then sort of in the 50 or odd years ago, they had £10 poms. But Australia have clamped down on migration. Obviously, they're looking, unashamedly, they're looking for the best and the brightest.
So what are Australia looking for?
Looking for general skills. In the new system that's come out from the 1st of July, they've actually put a quota on each occupation, so that if they're going to let 100,000 people in this year, they don't want 100,000 accountants, because obviously that's going to be an imbalance.
Yeah.
So they've tailored the system to actually have a good stream of each occupation that they require.
So, in terms of process, how do you go about migration?
Okay, the first thing to do really is to find out whether you do qualify.
Yeah.
Because if you're not eligible, there's no point.
Right, okay.
Which is something that we offer as a free eligibility assessment, so that you can determine whether it's worth continuing. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time and a lot of money and getting nowhere.
Okay. And what type of visas are on offer?
Starting from the sort of general skilled migration, which is the most popular, then the next kind of area of popularity is employer-sponsored visas.
Okay.
Then also they have parent visas, you know, for parents of Australian citizens or permanent residents, student visas, spousal visas, retirement visas, business visas. There's a whole raft of opportunities for different types of people.
Gosh, there's many more than I thought,
Yeah.
actually. That's a good thing.
It's not just a visa.
Gosh, there's quite a lot there. And do you think it's important to get a job before you actually arrive?
In some cases, yes, because your visa will be determined by the job.
Okay.
But if not, if you can apply for a skilled visa without having to get a job, you're far better off to get the visa first. Imagine an accountant who takes the first job that he gets. He's under the whip by that employer all the time. But if he gets his visa first, he can sell himself to the highest bidder, and he can maximize his opportunities in Australia. So if you qualify for a permanent visa, that's the way to go.
Okay, that's interesting. So what general advice would you give to anyone wanting to migrate to Australia, or the best advice?
I think, first of all, it's an expensive process, moving your house, moving your home, moving your pets, getting a visa. Put your hands in put your future in the hands of professionals. Use professional people that can help you, give you proper advice, and help you decide which is the best visa for you, how's the best way to go, eliminate mistakes, those sort of things.
And what would you give in terms of advice in terms of finding a job?
Again, I re-stress that one. If you have the visa, you're better off. Most employers in Australia will advertise a position, and they'll say only those with permanent residency need apply.
Okay.
So if you don't have the visa, you can apply for dozens of jobs that are the better jobs, and you're not going to get them because your applications are going to go to the bottom of the pile.
That's really vital, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah. Absolutely.
But then there are visas where your job is vital to get the visa. In other words, if you don't qualify for a skilled visa, you need the job first, and then you can get sponsorship by an employer.
Okay.
That's actually quite a tricky area, because there's a visa called a 457 visa, which Australia are great in promoting. The problem with that visa is that it's totally dependent on the job. If you lose the job, you lose the visa, and you've got 28 days to find another sponsor, else you're coming home.
Right, okay.
And that's quite dangerous for somebody with a family going over. So if there are other opportunities, you should look at it. There are other employer-sponsored visas that do not, that are not temporary, which are permanent. But
so tell me about the new regulations that came in on the 1st of July.
Gemma, that's a very interesting point. The regulations have been changing dramatically over the last 2 or 3 years and moved towards this new thing called Skill Select. And Skill Select is to find the best and the brightest applicants for Australia. And it's changed much like the New Zealand model, where you lodge an expression of interest before you lodge a visa application. Previously, you just lodged a visa application. Now you lodge an expression of interest. The application gets graded or ranked according to the number of points that you have. So if you have 80 points and I've got 70 points, you're going to get the application invitation before I do. And then it's queued. The application is queued in date order. So if you lodge your application a week before mine, you're going to get a nod before I do. So what happens then is they get all these applications in, and on every month on a rotational basis, they will pick those that they consider the best in the pool in that particular occupation until they reach the quota. So each occupation's got a quota ceiling. Once they reach the quota, then the invitation will stop for that particular occupation until the following year. So that's the methodology of kind of limiting the number of people in each occupation. And the whole idea behind it is to help Australian employers fill gaps that are necessary. Okay. As I said earlier, not to get 100,000 accountants in 1 year. They want a balance. So it's actually a very, very good system. It works well. It's only been in operation a couple of months, but it's working extremely well. There are a lot of pitfalls that people don't realize. There have been hundreds of thousands of applications made that probably won't go through because people have made errors or they haven't got the right documentation.
So it's obviously very, very important to make sure and double check everything you're putting on that application.
Yeah, give yourself the best chance. And also because it's graded on points, the more points you can get, the better chance you've got of getting an invitation. Now, that's where it comes in, using a professional to actually help you find different ways.
So how do you get the points?
Age, first of all, qualification, work experience, and English language ability. Those are the 4. Pass mark is 60 points, made up of those 4. There's a few extras like spousal points or studying in Australia. It's quite a complicated...
I was going to say, it sounds complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So is there anything you can do to make your application stand out amongst everybody else?
I think maximising the points is the best thing, and that's probably my advice would consult a professional. Yeah. Consult a registered migration agent, make sure that you're getting the best advice possible.
So what are the advantages of the employer-sponsored visas?
The advantage is that if you don't qualify for skilled migration, that you can then get there based on sponsorship. And the biggest advantage, you can get there fairly quickly and that you've got a job to go to.
Okay.
But that's about the only advantage, really, because if you do qualify for skilled migration, you should really go that way.
And any disadvantages?
The biggest disadvantage is, as I mentioned previously, that if you lose the job, you lose the visa, and you might have to come home and you've sold the farm or bet the farm on the migration experience, and then suddenly it doesn't work. Not a problem.
In terms of, I think my final question for you is the process time, because a lot of people think, how am I going to do this? How long is it going to take?
Up till a few months ago, a skilled visa could take up to 2 years to come through, but this new Skill Select program that they've brought out is definitely speeding up the process. We lodged an expression of interest for an accountant last Friday. On a Monday, we received an invitation to make the application, so that's absolutely speedy. They're not all like that.
Excellent. So can people go to your website and have a little look for more information?
Yes, and also on our website you'll find an assessment form that you fill in, and that will result in a free assessment of your ability to go.
Oh, completely free assessment?
Yeah. That's one of the advantages that we have, is that first of all we offer free advice. Yeah. We are local. I'm a migrant myself, having migrated to Australia 15 or so years ago. Wow. And so I understand the emotion of migration. It's not like going down to a corner store and buying a fridge. You're uprooting yourself from your family. And really it's nice to have somebody that cares, that is going to look after you. And that's one of our biggest selling points in using our agency as opposed to others, that you're not a number or a file in our business. You're a person and we look after you. You know, it's a very personalised, caring type of system.
And that's really nice to know, because it can be quite scary making a move like that, leaving your friends who would be necessarily in the UK and making that big leap.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to have the support, the reassurance, and you obviously have, you know, all the experience as well. And, you know,
Yes.
Personally, I would go with someone who's had the experience, done the move, and has the advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, in Australia there are something like 4,000 registered migration agents. The penalty for giving advice in Australia, if you're not registered, is $100,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment.
Really?
Unfortunately, outside the boundaries of Australia, there's no jurisdiction, so they can't penalise any. So there's only about 500 registered agents, of which I'm one, that are outside of Australia.
Wow, okay.
And only a person can be registered, not a company.
Right, okay,
So,
an individual.
Yeah. So when you're getting advice from somebody, make sure you're actually talking to somebody who's a registered agent, who's, you know, not talking to a salesman who's trying to con you out of your hard-earned cash.
Exactly. Oh, that's really reassuring to know. So, yeah, your website is?
Immigrationtooz.com, www.immigration2numeric.oz.com.
There you are. So, hopefully you've had a little more information from John. So, in terms of getting more information, visit the website. It's been lovely to meet you.
Thanks, Gemma. Nice talking to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.